ISHU. Here I'm only as Rabbi Benny, not the CEO. I don't represent anything I say today will be my personal opinions, my personal commentary. I just feel that, a lot of the things that are happening in the world do really affect businesses, especially ISHU and all these global businesses as well. And as a rabbinical person, I would want to, rectify or create an opinion of moral grounding that you see today in current social media and podcasting. So I figure let's start a show. We'll put it as a segment and continue our segment as ISHU Daily. But I really want to get this ISHU Daily, and this is my opinions, my critique, and what I see that people need to maybe correct themselves in what they're doing. Uh, so, guys, welcome to ISHU Daily, my first opinion show. And I would like to start with something very interesting, and it has to do with the debate that Piers Morgan facilitated between Candace Owens and Rabbi Shmueli. I want to mention one thing in pre section, right? Pre show. Rabbi Shmueli does not represent all of Judaism and all of rabbis. Okay, there's potentially even a question what type of rabbi he is. So you have to understand in the world of rabbis, there's different class of rabbis, and you have different class of Jews within the Jewish community, just like the Christian faith and just like the Muslim faith. You have different sects within the faith, and also people are forgetting Judaism as a whole represents one tribe of the Israelite nation, and that tribe is the tribe of Judah, hence Jewish people. All right, so I want people to understand that when we're doing these commentary, just to rectify and correct people in certain things, because it is being hard for us as Jewish peoples to get things done due to the anti-Semitic and anti-Semitism that's around the world. But no fret, it is what it is. I grew up in the 90s and late 80s, so I grew up with anti-Semitic people, so it's fine, and they were cool with us, but yet in their heart, sometimes they hate you. Doesn't mean I believe Candace Owens is an anti-Semite. I know some Jewish peoples will say she is an anti-Semite. I don't think she's an anti-Semite. I think she's just criticizing Jews too much, which I guess she has a right. The same way I would potentially have a right to criticize any other culture without being called racist. We're here to criticize to make better, but if you criticize to attack, then most probably you're an anti-Semite. But I don't think she is an anti-Semite. I just think maybe she's using the wrong words and the wrong combination of words, maybe. Maybe it's for ratings, maybe it's for whatever it is. But I know she's an eloquent woman. She's a mother. She's a person of faith. I was and I am still a fan of her. Our company's YouTube channel has subscribed to her. Rabbi Shmueli is a cool guy. He has a lot of experience. But the reason why I'm coming into the fray is because all I'm seeing through Piers Morgan is the whole year is this Rabbi Shmueli, who is not a rep of the whole Jewish community or all of rabbis in general. You have different levels of rabbis. You have Chabad rabbis. You have rabbis that are Orthodox, Reformed, conservative. I'm sure there's in between the faiths, the sects, kind of infighting. Like the Orthodox rabbis in Israel do control the rabbinical structure there. I personally believe they should. I don't believe that the conservatives or Reformed should control any rabbinical structure in Israel or any rabbinical authority in Israel, although there is some push for that to happen. In addition, I do believe that the whole world in general does need a reality check. Many times I watch these podcasts just to learn for myself and educate myself, to be more familiar of things. And I see there is not a unified or structure of comparisons proper. In the recent, this is what we're going to comment on a few parts of the recent debate between Rabbi Shmueli and Candace Owens. The comparison of bombing in Israel to 1 or 2 days in Dresden was not comparable, due to the fact that you're comparing 11 months to 2 days. I get where they do the comparison, because if you're going to compare the bombing of Dresden to what Israel is doing, then you have a right to compare everything that was done in Dresden to what Israel is doing. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's not even a question about it. But in reality, but as reality, when it comes to the bombing amount, now we're being specific and comparisons of payload. I think that's a little bit far-fetched to make that comparison. Although I see where they're doing that comparison, but I don't think that's reasonable. So off bat, do I believe in what's happening in the Gaza situation with the war? I do not believe in the war. I think all war is bad throughout time. I think war is bad. War is never a good thing. But at the same time, to educate countries on how to create warfare while we're sitting behind a mic, I think it's complicated. I mean, like whether it's Ukraine, Israel, whether it's in any other part of the world, like why don't I see anyone talking about what's happening in African countries where there's constant murder, rape, genocide? I mean, it's constant there, and I see it always end, and my heart cries out to it. Why we're not talking about all those jihadist Islamists that are in Africa that are raping, pillaging, and killing throughout all of Africa and all these states in Africa and countries. I mean, so what's going on there? Where is the outrage? Where's the debate? I don't see one debate on that, but there is, for some reason, a debate when it comes to the Jewish people. So why is there a debate when it comes to the Jewish people? Because as we know, and Candace Owens, says it herself, we are the chosen peoples, right? We claim to be the chosen peoples. We're not claiming. All religions know that. But of course, it puts us on a higher standard, a performer, no doubt. I agree with that. But at the same time, I don't wish anyone ill. Anyone who works on our podcast and our podcasting platform are diverse, and I believe in diversity in any corporation, but I don't believe in impositions. Live and let live. That's my motto. Live and let live, brothers. So that's my motto always. I'm just here to enlighten as a CEO and as a rabbi. I put my title Rabbi Benny here because, again, it's my opinion in current events, and I'm putting out this show because, listen, there's only so much you can stand by and listen to things without critiquing it. I've been 1 year almost since October 7th, even before, a standby listener to what's going on, and there's a lot to critique, and there's a lot to admit. So first, I want to start showing up and opening the video with Piers Morgan and Candace Owens. Let's see how we're gonna do this. Be patient with me, guys. I'm doing this as a mini producer / entertainer. Here we go. I'm sharing my screen.
And just to respond.
Here is the screen. And
Thank you, Piers. And I don't think I really do need to respond to the ad hominem attacks. I think actually one of the things that plausibly unites people across all religions, Muslims, Jews, Christians, is that we all recognize that Rabbi Shmueli is unhinged. He's just mentally, in my view, unwell. And I don't say that as an attack. I say that as just a reality, because I've never seen someone just make things up out of thin air that were never said. And trying to screen that as a defense of Black people. The Black people will never accept Rabbi Shmueli after Michael Jackson put him on a list of people who he felt were ruining his life. So you can stop your pleas with Black America. They won't work. Now, going back to the context of what you've asked us to speak about today, I think one of the things that the world is recognizing, and what we've always recognized, is that there are radical fringe sects that break out within every single religion, amongst every race. There's white supremacy, there's Black supremacy, there's radical Islam, there are all of these Christ cults around the world. And I think right now it's important for people to understand that radical Judaism is also a thing, and you're watching an example of it right now on your screen. The person sitting across from me, or sitting next to me, I guess, posted on his Facebook page in 2016 a tribute to someone who he said was his mentor. That was Rabbi Menachem Schneerson. He said he was his mentor and his friend. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Rabbi Schneerson, there were some Jews who believed that he was and is the Messiah. So rejecting Christ, but believing that that rabbi was his Messiah. Now, you may remember in the news recently, there was this radicalized faction of the Lubavitch Orthodox community in Brooklyn that were digging tunnels in Brooklyn and hurling benches at police officers. Well, and by the way, this is per the Times of Israel, that faction of individuals are followers of Rabbi Schneerson. So again, you have Rabbi Shmueli who believes that that's his mentor. They believed that he was the Messiah. What is it? It becomes important to understand, what did Rabbi Schneerson preach? Well, he preached Jewish supremacism, the hatred of all non-Jews. And you don't have to take my word for it, because if I said it, they would say that's anti-Semitism. You should instead take the word of the two Jewish professors who translated his work. Those authors' names were Israel Shahak and Norton Mezvinsky, and their book was entitled Jewish Fundamentalism in Israel. From that book, we learned that Shmueli's mentor, Schneerson, describes the difference between a Jew and a non-Jew. And he says, quote, "Thus we do not have a case of profound change in which a person is merely on a superior level. The body of a Jewish person is of totally different quality from the body of all nations of the world." And he talks about the substance of the Jewish body versus the substance of non-Jews, saying that the inner quality, quote, is so different and so great that the body should be considered completely different species. So that is a belief. And you can go through his speeches and you will see that he continually talks about how non-Jews should be treated, and that, again, we are a different species. This is what Rabbi Shmueli believes in. We have to come to terms with the fact that there are Jewish radicals, and it's incumbent upon the Jewish community to call them out. I'm glad that you brought up by Rhetoric about Black Lives Matter, the organization, and which was basically allowing Black criminals to take to the street to burn down, to loot, and to riot in the name of racism, because it shows that I'm on equal footing here, that across the board, I do not support supremacism, whether it's coming from my community or whether or not it is coming from yours. And I think the entire world is now paying attention and wondering what is going on in Israel. What is this government? Is this a radical fringe government? And many people are concluding that the answer to that question is yes.
All right, so in response to what she just said here, with Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who is the Lubavitcher Rebbe, she's way off. The Lubavitcher Rebbe had thousands and thousands of people visiting him, Jews and non-Jews. He only preached love for everybody. This whole quote that she took out is out of context. And I want to provide to you another clip that she has here, where she's misrepresenting the facts of who the Lubavitcher Rebbe is. And I think let's just play it, and we're gonna get to
want to
that.
scoop Piers. Obviously, it's his show, and I wanted to make sure that he got the viewership that he deserved for hosting us. And I was very grateful to Piers. We've had our moments in the past, but he at least allowed me to explain myself and to counter all the things that Rabbi Shmueli was saying, which was just increasing ad hominem attacks. That's all that really happens, by the way. If you at all critique Israel, you just face an onslaught of ad hominem attacks in the media, online. And like I say, there's a very tight-knit group of Zionist media members and their influencers who constantly and consistently and purposefully take you out of context, right?
All,
which is so dishonest. It's not necessary to routinely lie and take people out of context,
no doubt.
Especially when you do that and deem yourself to be God's chosen people. Like you're lying full time
right. I mean,
while telling the public that you're God's chosen people. That doesn't sit right with me.
Other specific points, I will do another podcast to explain, or maybe find. I would have to review more of her videos to see if there's any underlining situation where you would think that she's saying things that are anti-Semitic. There was a news report that I did put in the link in the Piers Morgan channel, that there is a link of a news report from Australia where they do quote her about the twins and saying that that's fake propaganda or something along the lines of that. Again, what is the context of what she's saying? What does she mean when she says it? That's the problem. A person as eloquent as her should really say what she means and not say something without giving more context to what she's saying. Being a little bit more repetitive will probably be better off, instead of creating misunderstanding remarks or things that can be taken out of context. You sometimes things can be taken out of context because you created that. You've said things that are either too fast, too eloquent, or off the cuff, and you're not doing well off the cuff. This point of being God's chosen people, I don't know why she's saying that. That's already seems like it's ridiculous. It's like, sounds like the Crusaders, that's why they attacked Jews, because we were God's chosen people and they looked at us as a threat. I don't think she's looking at Jews as a threat. I think what she's doing is she's just utilizing the Jews as a punching bag to critique us. But why can't you critique other other nationalities. Why pick on the Jews? But okay, I get it, because Israel is the cycle of discussion. And then, by with all due respect, she does talk about a lot of other things, and she's not focusing on the Jewish issue, but she is really criticizing the Jewish issue, which fine, go for it. Criticize Israel, criticize Jewish. My opinion is Israel, Judaism, they're both the same thing. The land of Israel is the homeland of the Jews. And the complaint that why all these Jews look different. Yeah, because throughout 2,000 years, you had peoples who converted to Judaism, and you had peoples who were lost from Judaism. So, of course, you're going to end up having a mix of genetics within the Jewish communities. Okay, I wouldn't say race, but within the communities. So let's see what she says here about Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, which is who I'm actually this is the reason why I decided to start, because, she picked on a person who's passed away, a holy man, a person who did not preach what she's saying. But let's continue. No, that's ridiculous. If that's what he said, that's ridiculous. But the other point is, she said that that Rabbi Shmueli is the most what do you call it? The most fundamentalist Jew out there. Listen, he amongst Jews is nowhere near fundamentalist. He amongst the fundamentalists is known as the most liberal. Just for you to understand, Rabbi Shmueli is no way fundamentalist. The books that he written himself, and the groups in society that he has been put himself around for the past 30 years did not make him in any way a fundamentalist, just made him an outcast in Judaism. He actually was pushed away from the Chabad Lubavitch movement. He was kicked out from the movement, and he admitted it himself. There's plenty of articles, you could just Google it. He's not even part of the Chabad Lubavitch movement anymore. I mean, from whatever you see in those articles that are written, even in Wikipedia, you can see it, it's there. But let's go back to what Miss O. Yeah, so this issue with Tucker Carlson is also another major issue. Yes, he had a historian on site. He had a historian there, but a lot, Tucker Carlson's smart enough. He should have pushed back on the historian, because it really is only his perspective of what happened in the time of the Nazi movement. I mean, people have to see what they're doing is they're taking historical events of the actual war, but take the events of the first 10, 15 years before the war happened, when Hitler became a chancellor, to the actual conquering and starting the wars, starting the invasions. Hitler's he clearly said that, but we'll talk about this another. But the historian said that Hitler did not want to commit a genocide. Yes, he did. He wanted to commit a genocide. He also mentioned that he didn't expect that there will be war against him. Of course, he expected. He prepped his military before he even invaded. Of course, he prepared for a war. It's ridiculous. Listen, that historian. Listen, I don't know about that historian. I'm not going to even talk about that historian. I'm not a historian. If anything, I would interview a historian to do, but I'm a history buff. I mean, we grew up as Jews. We grew up every day studying the Holocaust and World War II. That's part of our fabric of our life. I mean, we never again and never forget is very important to us. But yeah, definitely, genocide is not good in any aspect, and Jews were being murdered every day.
After that's what you throw at people, and so. It's incredible. The whole world watched me debate Rabbi Shmueli. They watched him come completely undone. They watched him lie. They watched him manipulate. And shockingly, the one thing that he didn't actually rebut was my opening statement. When I talked about Jewish fanaticism, when I talked about the fact that there are radicals in the Jewish community, like there are radicals in every single community, he sort of left it alone when I brought up his mentor, Rabbi Schneerson, who some radicals believe was and is the Jewish Messiah. He kind of left that alone. He left it alone. So RFK Jr., after the fact, took to Twitter to write this. This is just stunning, given the actual interview that we all just watched. Can you bring up his tweet? RFK Jr. wrote, during her interview on Piers Morgan, Candace Owens referred to what she termed radical Judaism and characterized the iconic Lubavitcher Rebbe Menachem Schneerson as someone who preached Jewish supremacism and hatred of all non-Jews. These words are a sickening a manifestly inaccurate description of a revered holy man who was respected and beloved by people of all faiths. Rabbi Schneerson preached a message of unadulterated love, tolerance, respect, and universal justice for all of humanity. My father considered him a spiritual mentor and sought his advice on diverse issues of morality and ethics. He once visited the Rebbe at 2 o'clock in the morning. As Americans, we need to distance ourselves from the troubling rise in anti-Semitism. We need unity in our country, not divisiveness. That's what Rabbi Schneerson stood for. Yes, we must distance ourselves from the concrete facts plus the name of the Jewish authors who I told you could read to discover these concrete facts. In fact, the Jewish, Israeli, Hebrew speaking and reading authors were clearly just anti-Semitic. How dare Candace share their book and share their words? How dare Candace say, hey, they were able to actually interpret because they understood the rabbi when he was speaking Hebrew, not RFK Jr., who randomly decided to pick Rabbi Shmueli as an advisor to his campaign. Red flag, red flag, red flag. Now that you have watched Rabbi Shmueli, the dishonesty, the deception, think about what it signals to you that RFK Jr. picked him as an advisor. An advisor to what? RFK Jr. is trying to sell to you that the problem in that back and forth was me quoting Jewish authors, Israeli, Jewish, Hebrew-speaking authors who interpreted the work. And when they interpreted the work, by the way, of Rabbi Schneerson, they said you weren't allowed to do that. And that was what was part of the problem. They were saying that there was radicalism that was breaking out in Israel. They were calling it the Jewish fundamentalist movement, right? The Lubavitch in Brooklyn, what do we remember that from as of recent? Oh, I think I remember that we were told from the Jewish media that this was a radical fringe of people who were adherent to Rabbi Schneerson, who think that he is the Messiah and he is going to return, dug a tunnel and were throwing chairs at police. Let's take a look at this video. Do you guys remember this?
Listen, no doubt Rabbi Shmueli should have never offended Candace Owens. Direct attack of who she is, her character. I don't think that's right. I honestly, that's 100% wrong. No rabbi should be attacking personally. Attack the idea, right? The idea. I have no issues with Candace Owens. I don't think she's an anti-Semite, although people are creating some craziness that she's an anti-Semite. I personally, so far, I don't see anything that she has said that's anti-Semitic. What she is saying is critiquing, let's say, historical events, critiquing historical fact, presenting ideas. I get it. I got no problem with it. You have all rights to present ideas. It becomes a problem when you start believing these ideas and without actual facts. If you want to believe in a narrative, okay, that's also important. Let's believe in a narrative. But if, let's say, your narrative also contradicts another historical event, then you have to question yourself whether the narrative you believe in is correct or not. Because a lot of these historians, I do believe they're creating a storyline within the research they found. I don't believe that anyone ever will have the most holistic data or information in order to create a one universal narrative of what actually happened in history. That's the definition of history. That means his story. So it's never an exact fact, in regards to history or past events or even current events, no doubt. But for sure, it's Rabbi Shmueli was way off in criticizing a woman, a mother, a person who's just trying to get the word out there and critique out there. Am I going to defend everything she says? No, not necessarily. I will not defend everything she says, but it's far-fetched to say that she's an anti-Semite, which is something that it comes to a person's feelings and a person's ideology. I don't see anywhere in her ideology or feelings that she hates Jewish people. If she hated Jewish people, guess what? She wouldn't be in an interview or debate with Rabbi Shmueli or any other Jewish person. All right. So that in itself proves that she's not an anti-Semite, because most anti-Semites wouldn't even stand to be with a Jew. And I know that. I had business dealings where people wouldn't even want to talk to me or shake my hand because I'm Jewish. That's a real anti-Semite. I don't think that she is an anti-Semite. Maybe they're saying, oh, but if she says something, it's going to affect other people who are anti-Semitic. Listen, then what are you supposed to do? That's the definition of social media. You have to have So getting back again, I don't believe that Miss Owens is an anti-Semite. I mean, I've grown up with anti-Semites and people who don't like Jews. I got beaten up by people who are anti-Semites. This is not at all, this is not at all the issue here. Okay, personally, my opinion, I don't think she's an anti-Semite. And I would love to have a meeting with her and a conversation with her just to talk about, facts and ideas. It'll be one day, maybe. We'll see. It's up to her and her scheduling, but if she even wants us, right? But for sure, I don't think she's an anti-Semite. Let's get to the next one. Let's see where we are. This is going to be my final critique of this whole thing. We'll do another episode on Monday about other types of podcasts. And the goal is my goal is to comment on business, on politics, because politics tremendously affects business. These kind of things tremendously affect our business running. And just to clear the air for anyone who comes and wants to join our company and our podcast, Miss Candace, you are way off. Yes, a Jew can be anti-Semitic. Those two authors you did quote, people should look them up. I'll put the link in Wikipedia who they were. They were American Jews. For you to know, many American Jews in politics, and Rabbi Victor Miller wrote a book about this, where he expressed detailed information how many of the Jews who were in politics prevented Jews from becoming refugees in America from the World War II, the boat that was supposed to be turned back. It wasn't just RFK who did that. I'm sorry, not RFK. What was his name? Not RFK. It was off the bat, FDR who did that. It was actual members in Congress who were Jewish, American Jews, and liberal Jews. And don't forget, there were many. There's a concept enemy within. Like you said, there's within every group there's a fringe, right? You have a white supremacist. You have this. You also have Jewish supremacists, right? No doubt. But the Lubavitcher Rebbe was never a Jewish supremacist. The Lubavitcher Rebbe was sought out by all cultures to see them. Every politician, every member came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe's blessings, to come for the blessing. And the clarity that you're just quoting these two authors is ridiculous. Why? Because guess what? Lubavitcher Rebbe never spoke in English. I mean, he never gave not English. He never spoke in any of his sermons in Hebrew. All his sermons were in Yiddish. Yiddish is a different animal. When you quote the word species, and we'll make another video about this, the word species, I have to read that book, see where they're quoting, but the word species, no. All the Lubavitcher probably did say, right, and this is just my theoretical understanding of learning from his books and reading all types of books in Judaism, I've read over thousands of books, right, is that he would say that a Jewish body or a Jewish soul is unique to the Jew. Just like the other 70 nations, a Jew and an Israelite has become a nation amongst itself, hence making the Jewish body and soul unique to itself, because now we became a nation amongst nations. There's a concept like that. And second of all, it's clear that the Lubavitcher Rebbe would never say that Jews are supreme in that sense. What do you mean supreme? Why are you trying to link supremacy on Judaism? Where did the Jews reign supreme? In what time in history did we reign supreme? The only time was in Judea, which was before, in the time that we were occupied by the Greeks and then the Romans. And then prior to that, when King Solomon is around, and we had constant wars with the Semitic nations around us. Where were we, right? And then what about the Crusades and the Trinitarians and the Catholics who constantly persecuted Jews for knowing information? We were the information people. We knew the book. That's why we're called people of the book. We knew how to read. Every child needs to know how to read. It's part of our mandate to know the alphabet, the alphabet, not just the alphabet of the Hebrew language, the alphabet of the language where you're living. That's why they didn't want the Jews to be involved, in order to push away any agenda that the Crusaders and the church wanted to do. Now, put that aside. That's history, right? I was just trying to show you, where were we supreme historically? Were we in government and leaders of government? For sure. Even in Germany, you had chancellors and you had peoples in the parliament of Germany who were liberal Jews, and you should Google this up already. Not the Orthodox Jews. Most Orthodox Jews will say, don't get involved in politics. Most of them, 90% of them says, leave the politics alone. Let our friends who are not Jewish take care of it. The Gentile friends take care of it. They'll take care of us. We have faith and loyalty to that aspect. But you're wrong. I mean, to say that they knew Hebrew, they're from Israel. No, I believe Norton Michivsky, let's look over here just to see the Wikipedia, was an American historian professor, right? Is this the individual? Let's make sure. He wrote the book. Where's the book that he wrote? He wrote the book that Candace Owens was quoting, yeah? Let's see where he wrote the book. Let's go backwards in my search engine. Yes, Jewish Fundamentalism. That's the book that she's quoting. Jewish Fundamentalism. Look at that. So, I don't know. It doesn't say he was Israeli. Was an American historian professor. Interesting. Known in Iowa family. Okay, is this the same author? Let's just Google ourselves. Let's see if it is the same author. Jewish Fundamentalist by Norton Mistivsky. There we go. Let's see who he is. Is it the same person? See, this is how we do our research, right? You gotta do here research. But I don't see his image here. All right, let's see if that's the same. I think that's the same book. Looks like it's the same book. Pluto Press. I don't know. We'll have to do more. Yeah, but it says Israel Shahak. Yeah, same thing. Israel Shahak. And where's Israel Shahak from? Let's check it out. Sorry, I got like 3 screens, so my face might be looking in a different way. Israel Shahak. Let's see where he was born. Israel Shahak, born July, was an Israeli professor of organic chemistry. Okay, he was born in Israel. Okay, so one author was born in Israel. Okay, I give her that. But you can Google these individuals. I mean, these individuals, for sure, he might have known Yiddish, but he is clearly not an Orthodox person. That I don't believe he read all of 30 volumes of Lubavitcher Rebbe's books. I don't believe that. It's called Likutei Sichot. No way. Anyway, if you want to really get to Lubavitcher Rebbe, learn his teachings, they're all available in videos.gem.tv. I will put that link there. I will put the link of Candace Owens' episodes with the debate, and obviously what she said, the episode of where she said about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Honestly, let's see if there's anything else she said here. What do you mean interpreted? See, it's another. I'm sorry. Lucky we play this again. Not interpreted? What do you mean interpreted? It's in Yiddish. There's nothing to interpret. For you to truly interpret Rabbi the Lubavitcher Rebbe's work, you would have to memorize all 30 volumes to really contend with it. I want to mention one thing that she doesn't know, because listen, she's Catholic or Christian, whatever it is. I'm the rabbi. Call me as a rabbi and ask me, Benny, what's going on? You know, like, what does it mean? What did Rabbi Schneerson say? These individuals weren't rabbis. They were academics at best, right? Historians at best. Now, all of a sudden, you're saying they understand Judaism. They're not even Jewish in the sense of religious Jews. You cannot be a non-religious Jew and then claim you understand all the works of Rabbi Lubavitcher Rebbe or all the works of Maimonides. It's impossible, because if you understood the works of Maimonides and understood the works of all our scholars, then guess what? You would fulfill the mandates of the Jewish laws. So I want to mention one thing. It's very important. There's a Talmudic chapter in Tractate Sanhedrin. And I'm saying this by heart because I know the material. So in Tractate Sanhedrin, the chapter 11. So in chapter 11, in Tractate Sanhedrin, you can buy this tractate in English, okay? It says, Kol Yisrael Yeshlem Chelek L'Olam Haba. All Israel has a part in the world to come. So in Judaism, the fundamental is that all Jews believe and all people believe that God will resurrect in the 7,000th year. God will resurrect every single human being that was good, including Gentiles. Okay, and you have to understand who was the Lubavitcher Rebbe's mentor. You know who it was? He would not. They say he would never leave his hand away from the Rambam, Maimonides. And Maimonides wrote in his commentary on the tractate, the Mishnaic tractates, he says, what does it mean, Yisrael? Israel. All of Israel has a world to come. It should say all of the nation of Israel. That would be in the Hebrew world. Am Yisrael, it should say. It should say Bnei Yisrael. No, it just said Kol Yisrael, skipping the word Am and skipping the word Bnei, which is children or nation, to teach you a valuable lesson. And this is written down in many other scholarly books from Moshe Chaim Lotzato and many others. That what? Every single person who's good is part of the fabric of Israel. Listen to me again. That every single person who is good is part of the fabric of Israel. I think Candace, you made a mistake here. You touched a holy man like the Lubavitcher Rebbe. You should have never done that. And you have plenty enough to attack Rabbi Shmueli. Obviously, I'm not a fan of his. I don't like the way he responds. I don't like the way he overpowers a conversation. When I watch Piers Morgan and whenever he's on, he always cuts people off. I think you should let people finish what they say, focus to the points. You know, honestly, I mean, he does give some good points when it comes to Israeli history. Yes, I get that, but at the same time, listen, it is what it is, and it's not fair. It's not fair to regards that you're attacking a Lubavitcher Rebbe who has nothing to do with Rabbi Shmueli, especially since he was kicked out of the movement completely because he does not follow the ways of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's the fact. And that's why he couldn't respond. By the way, he didn't respond because he's not part of that movement anymore. He was kicked out of that movement. He was kicked out of the whole Chabad scenery. What I would suggest also, and you know, we'll say this in another time. There, you know, the attack on the Netanyahu situation is there's two folds of what's going on in politics. That's going to be next week on Monday. I'm going to talk about it. But there's two folds in politically what's happening with Israel that people don't understand, that what the war has provided. It's the same thing that happened in 9/11. 9/11 came, but who benefited? So many other people benefit in the U.S. than the actual Iraqis from the war. You know, of course, all war is bad, and the key result is what happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Iraq. But at the same time, look at the reverse situation. If we didn't go to Afghanistan and didn't go to Iraq, you know, women would have never had, you know, free rights in Afghanistan and Iraq. You know, women are right now they're made a new law in Afghanistan to drop the age of marriage. In Iraq also, to drop the age of marriage, that a man can marry a girl at the age of 9. Are you kidding me? Where's the outrage in that stuff? I mean, talk about pedophile, talk about that stuff. You know, that's also important. Where do you have a right to marry a girl at 9 years old? In the Torah, it doesn't even say such a thing. And today, all the rabbinics said even the Torah that said 12, 13 back then, say today there's no 12, 13. It's 18 to 24 is the time of marriage. You know, there's something called a little bit progressing in history. You know, we do have that in the rabbinical teachings in the Orthodox community and all communities. Listen, so this is my ISHU Daily. I hope this episode really clarified this thing. And I hope I defended the holy man that is in our community for who has literally changed the world in Judaism and had brought many Jews and many non-Jews and many Gentiles and many good people.
I'm going to see the people in worship. I'm going to be sure. And every time I go, I give you regards and I bring some money with me. So I will be there, give you blessings for them and give you regards and tell them how you think of it.
God Almighty bless you to spread evil for non-Jews. Happy news, because every Jew is obliged to do. Also for the benefit of other people, and especially someone who has the ability to spread all this news. In Poland, it is a special merit and a special duty.
Okay. When I was in the ambassador's office in Poland with all the people down, the Polish government, I told them how proud I was to be private in the army and how proud I was to be part of the poetry movement, and that all the people heard about it, and they know very much the reason I'm in Poland as strong as I am is because of the good work that I'm trying to create through your auspices.
But don't underestimate my appointment. I appointed you a long time ago, not as a private, but a general of 4 stars.
Well, I'm a lucky man. I both feel humble enough to be a private and be proud enough to be a general. You're very kind.
But 4 stars.
And I'll be promoted. Thank you. Okay, can I take some single dollars for, because I go to shul and I bring some big money with me, but I also give them dollars. I usually tell them that not to spend the dollars I get from you for them, to keep the dollars, and the dollars I give them I tell them to spend.
God much bless you. That's for you 4 stars.
Thank you.
And that is for the 5th star to come in the near future. And that is for the people there, and you distribute it as you see fit.
Thank you.
I will ask you especially to give this to your daughter.
Thank you.